Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the webinar on aligning policy, practice, and innovation towards a sustainable agriculture, which is co-hosted by the NutriBudget and Renew2Cycle projects. My name is Margherita Genoa, and I'm project manager at RISE Foundation, and I will have the pleasure of guiding you alongside with my colleagues through the webinar today. So, over the next few hours, we will dive you into how the common and agricultural policy and circular economy frameworks can better support nutrient recycling and sustainable nutrient management across European farming, which is a key issue for both for environmental goals and long-term farm resilience. But before getting into the heart of the discussion, let me do a quick note on the housekeeping. Today we do have two sessions. One is led by NutriBudget, and the second one is led by Renew2Cycle. And to ensure the smooth experience for everyone, I would ask you all to have your mic off and as well as your camera. If you have any questions for our panelists, feel free to share them in the Q&A box that you can find at the bottom right of your screen by clicking on More. We will make sure to pick your questions during the discussion, and if we have time constraints, we will make sure to get back to you after the event. I would also like to inform you that the session today is recorded and the link will be shared afterwards. And the webinar will be available on the forum website. Now, before any further ado, I would go to the opening message that Tasso Saniotis, Special Advisor for Sustainable Productivity at the Forum for the Future of Agriculture and former Director at DG Agri, shared with us with some inspirational thoughts on the topic that we are addressing today, which, and by doing so, contributing for sure to feed our panel discussion. So let's listen to Tasso's message.
Good afternoon, everybody. I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me to this event. Unfortunately, I cannot be with you, but I will like to share with you my ideas, and hopefully that will be part of your discussion later on. I think it is an important event and an important occasion to focus on nutrient management in the current context, to make a link to sustainable productivity and also to the ongoing discussions about the common agricultural policy. Let me start with the first, the broader context within which agriculture is facing a series of challenges. I would start with a point that I raised in the recent workshop that was organized on agricultural markets, and that is the fact that we seem to have stabilized agricultural markets at a level of rather high prices for historical comparisons. This is the case and the result of three successive crises: the asymmetric exit from the COVID, the energy tensions of the summer of 2021, and the Russian invasion in February of 22 of Ukraine. If you take all three together, they resulted in increasing both the input costs for farmers, but also to a very large extent, the food costs. The result of this has been a situation that is unique and generates the need for some serious push towards productivity growth. Productivity growth could allow prices to go lower, but of course, such productivity growth should avoid the mistakes of the past and should focus on sustainability. It should combine the economic and the environmental improvement of the performance of farming at the same time. Part of this broader context is, of course, the situation we face with trade and the increasing uncertainty and the lack of any reliance on constant rules when it comes to trade. and what I consider to be a frontal attack both on science and on climate change. These two go together, and they are pretty much linked to the decreasing reliance on science and solid evidence in policy decision making. Now, if you put all these things together, one would say, okay, where does nutrient management fit to all that, and where does the CAP fit to all that? Well, nutrient management fits in something which is very clear. It is the role of land and land management in making agriculture more sustainable. This is the area where policy has more leverage than any other area, in my personal view. It's not because biodiversity is not important. It's not because emissions and what happens in air is not important. It's not because water is not important. All these three are very important, but land management allows us to focus on combining the impact of actions at the farm level in all the dimensions that I mentioned before, and also in what goes in the soil. And that's exactly why the role of science, the role of the generation of new knowledge, and also the transfer of existing knowledge will be very important in improving sustainable productivity. Now, what about the CAP? Now, the CAP has the characteristic of being based on area payments. And despite the criticism that we often hear about these payments being driven by what happened back in 30 years ago, the fact of the matter is that all member states and successive reforms of the CAP have changed the manner by which these payments are distributed, but they have not done it in a manner that would have as a common line what actually happens at the farm level. And I'm talking here about a very simple fact that exactly maybe because it's simple, we have missed in our discussion so far, which is the fact that the farmer, when deciding what exactly to do, they do not distinguish their economic from their environmental performance. They would purchase, for example, fertilizers to put in the soil, and in the nutrient management that they focus on, they're going to act both as economic actors and as environmental actors. They're going to generate costs and additional revenue, and they're going to generate an input in the soil and an output in the soil, actually reflecting a characteristic of agriculture to be the only sector that at the same time emits carbon, but also absorbs carbon. Now, how much or how little this nutrient will be put in the soil, and what its role is going to be in better managing land should be at the core of the debate about the common agricultural policy. There are plenty of measures available that allow us to actually improve the manner by which we manage soil, and to improve the knowledge we have and the practices that we use in terms of nutrient management. What we need to do is start focusing on a limited number of necessary information that would allow us to achieve in improving the performance of the policy. Such indicators should not be long in list and should start from what is already available. For example, we have, through the Lucas survey, a series of data that in over the years give us some information about what happens at the regional level in terms of soil conditions. We also have the discussion of the farm accounting data network that is in the process of becoming the farm sustainability data network, exactly by adding a limited number of indicators that would focus more on sustainability. We do have a series of private practices that try to improve the manner by which farmers perform and generate information that actually allows farmers to receive additional revenue based on their performance. And we also have the huge debate about carbon farming and about discussions on what we do with taxation, more subsidies, or better pricing of carbon. All this require the generation of a common methodology and bringing together the conclusions of projects like the ones that many of you have participated in to be able to better link policy targets, policy performance, and policy instruments. I hope that the discussions you're going to have will improve our knowledge on what is already available and how we can bring this knowledge in the current debate about the future of the common agricultural policy. Starting, in my view, with a point that it's about time to try to find ways by which, instead of distinguishing and splitting the economic and environmental performance of CAP measurements, we should try to bring them together. This, in my view, would simplify the manner by which the measures are run, but at the same time will improve their capacity to better perform when it comes to passing the test of making agriculture more sustainable and more productive at the same time. Thank you very much, and I would like to wish you the best in the event that is about to start.